Hi guys, this is Jeremy with In The DAW. Welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at Stigmatized Productions' Stigmatized Drummer, and this is a sample library that you can use inside of Kontakt or Kontakt Player to get some really hard-hitting heavy metal drum sounds. So without any further delay, let's just jump straight into it. All right, you guys, welcome back. So like I said earlier, this is going to be a video focusing on the Stigmatized Productions Stigmatized Drummer. So without saying anything else, let's just show you what this sounds like. This is using no post-processing. So as you see here on my mixer window, there is no processing at all. The drums are all red. And there's no processing on my buses. Buses are all mustard yellow because I used to use Pro Tools. So with that said, let's take a listen to what these drums sound like. Pretty much stock. So here we go. Cool. So I know I played that for a little while, and that's because I really wanted you to hear what these drums sound like. This is a really cool drum sample library from Stigmatized Productions, and it is hosted inside of the Kontakt library player or Kontakt, whatever you want to call it. My overall impressions are this thing is really sick. I love this thing. And one of the big pluses that I find with this is the groove library. Stigmatized Drummer has over 1,500 grooves inside of it. It has everything from ethnic to punk to metal, pop, and rock grooves. A lot of them are actually based off of really popular songs. Like right here, we have The Rock, we have Rock Shuffle, we have Give It Away, we have Teen Spirit, we have Roxanne. For pop, we have some popish stuff. For metal, we have really cool ones. If I just go here, there is stuff like Raining Blood and Slayer style grooves in here. And it's something that I really like. If I go to the song styles, you see we have Dehumanization, we have Necrophobic, we have This Is the War, we have Unchain My Soul, we have Winds of Creation, we have King covers, we have Demigod covers. This is really cool. If you're a metal guy, you're really going to like this because this is basically like a drum library designed for metal people. I mean, they sound great. And honestly, these fills are my favorite. Let me just grab some random ones and I'll just double click and play through them. And that one sounded really cool, right? Really abrupt. Let's try this one. Let's go this one. Really cool, right? Now, because we have such an extensive groove library, it's really easy to work with. You just double click on it, load it up, and then drag it into your DAW. Now, we have lots of controls, though. We have the control for the swing and the tightness right here. And this controls how tight and on the grid it's going to be. This is the controls for the actual grid. And then we have swing, which is, how loose it's going to be. Velocity controls, which allows us to have a very soft style of playing. Great for like if you're trying to do some light jazz. And then we can have really hardcore, like genty style metal where everything's basically at like max. Really cool, right? One thing that I like is to keep this kind of in the middle or maybe just a little bit to the right. And that's just because I like to have a little bit of aggression, but I like the dynamics that they have programmed into this. We also have a tempo control right here, which gives us half time, normal time, and double time, meaning that we can be ridiculously fast players, which I am not. But, you can hear what it sounds like. It's going to sound like something no one can actually play. Now, after that, we have the Options tab, which controls the velocity and the MIDI mapping. So this means that this will control the MIDI mapping of the Stigmatized Drummer itself and its grooves. And we have the velocity control, which is linear, basically meaning the quiet notes are quiet, the loud notes are louder. We have the exponential plus and minus, basically meaning that it's the same thing, but it has a slight curve near the end or the beginning, meaning that after a certain point, the semi-soft hits are just going to be hard hits. Or in this case, for minus, it'll be the semi-soft hits will just be soft hits, and then the medium hits will be softer hits, and then when it gets to a certain point, it'll just be linear again. And then we have fixed, which basically means everything's whatever you set it to. And then we have the range, which goes from 1 to 127. 1 meaning it's basically quiet, and 127 meaning that it's loud. The MIDI mapping is really cool because we can load up our own MIDI mapping. We can MIDI select, and then we can program it in with our keyboard. And then we have our presets. And we have everything from General MIDI, Superior Drummer, EC Drummer, Addictive Drums, SSD4, BFD3, and Get Good Drums. And then something that I saw was Perfect Drums. This is a newish, small sample library company that they make drums that sound really metal. But this is probably one of the only drum synthesizers that I've ever seen that actually supports drum libraries for it. Really cool. Really shows that these guys at Stigmatized Drummer are pretty much just keeping on point. They're making sure that they see everything that's coming up, which is great because these grooves are amazing. So if I don't want to have a metal kit, and I might just want to use their grooves to supplement for a different kit that I use. With that said, we'll move on to the kit. And this is the coolest thing. Look at this. This is an awesome graphic. You have 2 kicks, a snare, 4 toms, a hi-hat, some crashes, cymbals, and chinas. And then we have controls for everything like MIDI select, velocity controls, tuning, attack, hold, and decay. And what that basically does is control the individual attack and decay of the samples that you're selecting. So if I hit the snare, bring the attack all the way back, it sounds like it's been sucked out, while the tom stays the same. So that's a really cool thing, is that this is very, very customizable. Everything you click on will have its own individual controls. And it sounds amazing. Next, we go to the mixer tab. And this is probably one of the most powerful mixer tabs I've seen in a sample library or a drum VSTI. This has every single mic pretty much set up here. We have kick, snare top, snare bottom, hi-hat, all 4 toms, the ride, the crash, the overheads, rooms, bleed, compression, and side sticks, and then the master control, which allows you to swap the left and right channels. And what that means is that we have parallel compression right here. We have the bleed controls right here. We have a room mic and overheads and side sticks, which is really cool because most plugins don't have all that control. And this has faders. We have pan knobs, solos, mutes. And if we select each individual channel right here, we can actually control the EQ, transient designer, compressor, and tape saturation that are built into every single channel. Now, under the names, we can control the routing, which is right here. But keep in mind that if you're using Kontakt, you probably have to use the 16 out version. And even then, you're going to have to control what outputs you have inside of it manually. That's the only problem with using Kontakt, is that the outputs are manually programmed in. So if I go here and I load up my outputs, you can see that I have manually created my outputs right here. And that's something that you have to do on your own, but that's the only issue I have with Kontakt itself. This is not a problem with Stigmatized Drummer. Stigmatized Drummer makes it extremely easy just by clicking here. Now, we can make our mixer dark or shiny. I like shiny. It makes me feel like I'm in a cool, nice, brand new room. And then, like I said, every single channel will have its own individual channel strip. We have an SSL style EQ, which has 2 bells, 2 shelves, a low and high shelf, and then we can turn them into bells by clicking right here. And then we have the power button and the output. We have a transient designer, which is something I've never seen in a Kontakt style sample library. It has attack, sustain, input, power, and output. We have an SSL style compressor, threshold, makeup, ratio, attack, release, mix, power, and output. And then we have a tape saturator, which has gain, warmth, and HF, which I think is high frequencies. We have power and output. Now, really cool. I know we're going pretty fast. That's just because we have so much to go over. After that, we have our final tab, which is our matrix. This is a really interesting thing because most drum software where you have the ability to control where you send stuff either uses little send pots or menus where you have to click and select like, oh, this goes here, this goes here. Stigmatized Drummer has made it really easy though. We can simply click on whatever we want to click on, and we have the matrix of every channel that it can go to right up top. And then we have faders, which have panning, mutes, and solos, and volume. This is really cool because if you used to work in big studios, like I know Warner Brothers has this giant scoring console where their sends also have faders on them, while the other sends are normal send pots, but they have 2 banks of faders. For the past like 10 years, I've mixed through my console, and I've gotten really used to just using faders. So this is really cool. It makes me feel really nostalgic and gives me like a sense of like me moving stuff. So let's say I want to send my kick to the parallel compression. I just select the kick, bring it up to the compression. And if I want to take it out of the overheads and rooms, I simply just bring it down and control where I'm sending everything to. It's really cool. And then an awesome thing is we also have global controls, which allows us to have basically a master fader for it. So it controls everything at once. We have a mute solo, and then we can control right here by having MIDI CC learned. This goes for every single channel that's been mic'd up. So you can pan things, you can do whatever you want. And a really cool thing is you can really dial in your parallel compression just by sending only some channels to the compressor, which as you see here, I don't have anything. The hi-hats and cymbals and stuff like that, none of them are going to the parallel compression. If I go to the mixer and I solo that up, you can hear that nothing's going to here. And that's just because I want to have a nice snappy parallel compression chain that I can ride in. With that said, how does everything else sound? The rooms sound amazing. I'm going to play the rooms for you. Right? It sounds really good. Let me show you the overheads. Right? They're really tight, which is something I actually really like because I like to dial in the amount of room noise with the room mic. So watch, if I solo just the kit up. You can get a really big sense of space this way, and it sounds very natural and organic. With that said, that's pretty much everything there is to talk about with the Stigmatized Drummer. The only thing that I'm going to add is that if I bring this back up, this comes with NKI files, meaning that it's not going to load up here, but you can load them up with your files menu and then load them up into your tabs. And this has 3 different sets. We have Classic, which is designed for more hard rock and pop stuff. Raw, which is completely unprocessed tracks, and then Extreme, which is what I'm using, and that's for heavy metal sounds. With that said, if you like the way that this sounds, there's a demo, and it has a bunch of groove libraries. You can really get to learn it, and of course, talk to them. You know, start a dialogue, tell them I sent you. I personally really like this, and this is great if you're going for that heavy metal sound or a super hard rock sound. So with that said, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in a couple seconds. But before that, I'm just going to play through parts of this so you can hear what it sounds like in a mix. So with that said, bye. And there you have it. That is Stigmatized Productions' Stigmatized Drummer. In my overall opinion, I think these things sound amazing. Because you have 3 different sounds you can choose from, you have a pretty decent variety of controls. And the fact that you have so much control and so many effects built inside of it, like an EQ, a compressor, a transient designer, and a tape emulation, it's really, really cool. And the fact that you have raw samples, some more vintage style drum sounds, and the really, really processed heavy metal sounds, you can actually get a very, very wide range of sound. So with that said, my overall opinions are I really like this, and I highly recommend checking it out. You can grab a demo. I'll have a link in the description below. And with that said, that's going to be it for this video. This is Jeremy Taylor with In The DAW, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.